At any time during the show, type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Just like an uncut diamond is brought to life by unmatched skill and dedication, only our brewmaster holds the secret to crafting a crystal malt lager. Under the exacting international standards at Now Breweries, he uses only the finest, most carefully selected grains of roasted crystal malt and sets in motion the delicate process of releasing their full roast. The result is a world-class beer with a fresher aroma, a richer golden color, and a maltier taste.
Nile Gold Crystal Malt Lager. Beyond an ordinary malt.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Let the sunlight in.
Good morning, sunshine of my life. You look happy today.
I am. I came in here and I saw there was a whole pile of washing to do.
But I thought you didn't like doing the washing.
Fellow Ugandans, the United Nations has declared that access to the internet is a universal human right, along with access to water and food. Like the UN, we believe that every Ugandan should enjoy this right. We believe that access to information, education, and improved communication through the internet will build this great nation. And it is because of what we so strongly believe that we are giving every single MTN customer 10 megabytes of free data on their mobiles. And everyone can start experiencing it now.
Follow us on facebook.com/MTNUG or twitter.com/MTNUgandaCare. This announcement was brought to you by MTN.
Special fares to the US, London, China, and India, with extra baggage allowance on selected flights. To book your flight, contact your local travel agent or call us on 041-7800-900 or book online at qatarairways.com/UG. Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
Terms and conditions apply.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90 is brought to you by Stanbic Bank.
A very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond Kizito. On Spectrum tonight, inside of Parliament, what are the topical issues as business resumed today? The 9th Parliament resumed business after the Christmas and the New Year break. There are a lot of expectations from the public given the fact that the first 6 months of this Parliament were characterized by a great commitment and an exhibition of strong nationalism by the legislators. Two critical aspects, all bordering on the fight against graft, took center stage in the first 6 months, and they include the oil and gas sector and the debate about the compensation saga, in which 169 billion shillings was taken by the Harbour Group owned by Hassan Basalirwa. These two issues have spilled over into the session that started today, following the signing of the new oil PSAs, or production sharing agreements, by government and Tullow Oil, in total disregard of a parliamentary resolution that all such agreements be stayed until the relevant laws are in place. Yesterday, President Yoweri Museveni indicated he had directed the agreements to be signed, and today he called the Speaker of Parliament, asking to address Parliament on Friday on this matter. His request was granted. The Public Accounts Committee is also due to report on its investigation about the compensations, but reports have emerged indicating that President Museveni is softening his stance on the matter after indicating that he has since established that the formula used to arrive at the disputed figure paid to the Harbour Group is fair and acceptable. Another issue that has just been reported is that each legislator is to receive 103 million shillings to buy a new vehicle. This development is a bitter pill for the general public, and already Parliament is coming under severe attack. So tonight we take a look at these three critical issues to try and understand how MPs and you, the members of public, actually perceive them. Our guests tonight Mr. Asuman Basalirwa, President of the Justice Forum Party. You're most welcome, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, and good evening all our listeners.
We expect to be joined by Honorable James Kakooza, MP for Kabula County, coming from the NRM Party, and Honorable Sanjay Tana, MP for Tororo Municipality, an independent member of that parliament. Honorable Asuman Basalirwa, what are the key issues that you expect to dominate Parliament in the new year?
Well, I think what is coming through the press, you people of the media, really, and what we are getting in the public is about the legislations. Basically, the legislations concerning the Public Order Management Bill, the Homosexuality Bill, legislations on the oil and gas sector, and of course the continuous fight against corruption by Parliament. So I think this session of Parliament is really going to be dominated by those issues. I foresee Parliament continuing the crusade against corruption. I foresee Parliament piling pressure on government to table the bills, the bills encompassing the oil and gas sector and the related issues. So we suspect, or I predict, that this is going to be a parliament of legislation. This session is likely to be dominated by legislations,
new laws coming
up, covering the aspects which I have just enumerated.
All right. Do you think these are the priorities in your view? Are these the priorities? Are we getting them right? The legislations that are coming through.
Well, I think if you are talking about priorities, if we are talking about legislation, for example, you need to understand the primary function of Parliament. If I'm not mistaken, it's Article 98. Parliament is the supreme law-making organ. So when Parliament engages in legislation, in my view, then it is executing its constitutional function. The others, like oversight, are secondary.
Yes.
Representation are secondary.
Right.
The primary function, the primary role of Parliament is really legislation.
And you think we have the right laws or draft laws in position?
Well, that is also debatable. We may not really talk about the rightness or wrongness of the laws at this point in time, but if we are to focus on the fact that Parliament is likely to spend most of its energies on legislation, then I think Parliament will be on the right track. I don't enjoy having a Parliament which engages itself in so many trivial issues. Okay, you'll find on the floor of the House so many oral questions for ministers to answer issues of national importance, even when they are not of national importance. So I think there is a lot of backlog in terms of legislation, and it is my humble request that Parliament really focuses. If issues emerge that require attention of Parliament, it's also prudent that they address them. You know, issues to do with the corruption, and also in its overall, in its secondary role, as I've said, of oversight, representation, and the related issues.
Well, we've just been joined by our second guest, Honorable Sanjay Tana, MP for Tororo Municipality, an independent member of that house. You're most welcome, Honorable Tana.
Thank you, and good evening to you all out there.
Do we have the right legislations coming in the correct order of priority, in your view?
Yes, we do, and like I just found my honorable colleague here trying to explain. I think that yes, we are on the right track, but something that has come out very, very vividly since we started Parliament is the lacklustersness, or you can say what the French would call laissez-faire, from the side of the executive in bringing forward this legislation. You know, I think the Constitution restricts many of us from instituting or bringing forward legislation without the certificate of financial implication, and you cannot bring in any legislation that will charge the consolidated affair. So most of us, the hands are tied. So most of these bills or laws are supposed to come, or legislation is supposed to come from the executive. Now, if they do not generate business, yesterday one of the biggest issues in the business committee was executive saying that they are not yet ready. Even today, despite being put on the order paper, we had ministers coming through and saying next week till Thursday, and that really raises questions in our minds. We have been on vacation on 2 months, and now you come and still ask for another 2 days. What are you doing? What is your level of preparedness, really? So, as MPs, we were really disappointed by the time we left Parliament today. I want to tell you honestly,
the Prime Minister is letting you down, leader of government business.
I don't want to point fingers to individuals, but I think the whole system is letting us down for whatever reason. The Prime Minister comes with a statement and he doesn't have copies to distribute. Sends a 30-page report, statement, and he starts saying Parliament didn't photocopy, and yet ideally if government is coming it must, and then you start asking yourself, really, is this what we are expecting? Is this what we are supposed to have? On the front bench people come and today we had one minister saying that she was stuck in traffic jam, and then she starts saying she didn't see the order paper, whereas it leaves, that laissez-faire, as I've said, must change from the executive if Parliament is to function efficiently.
Listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1 tonight. Inside of Parliament, what are the topical issues as business resumed today? Our guest, Honorable Sanjay, Tana, MP for Tororo Municipality, Independent Member of Parliament, Honorable James Kakooza, has just joined us. You're most welcome, Honorable Kakooza.
Thank you very much. I apologize to listeners that I've been late. Rest of here. Yeah, well, Honorable
Kakooza is Member of Parliament for Kabula County. He belongs to the NRM party. We also have Mr. Asuman Basalirwa. You heard from him before. He's the President of the Justice Forum. But Honorable Kakooza, very briefly, do you think we have our priorities right? In the House, the government comes with a raft of bills. Are they facing the right side up?
I think we have our rules of procedure that in a parliament like this second sitting within this 9th parliament, the business committee where leader of opposition sits, the speaker of parliament, the chief whip of government, they sit and draw. As you heard, the speaker was announcing the way how the program of this parliament and when it's going to be prorogued by 27 May. And all these programs are agreed. But I think within that context, it's incumbent upon the business committee that they sit each every time, they scrutinize what needs, and then they give priority to that business that benefits the country.
All right. So let's move to something else that could cloud debate in Parliament. Honorable Basalirwa, President of the JEMA Party, the cars. Today we woke up to the news that MPs are getting cars, or the equivalent of 103 million shillings, so they can buy cars for themselves. Is that justified? Let's cover that very quickly, because we know it might be trivial to some people, but it could cloud debate or the image of Parliament.
Well, I have contested for Parliament before, but I want to speak generally about facilitation of legislators or facilitation of public officers. I think it's important as a country for us to focus on the need to have our public officers well facilitated across board, be it MPs, teachers, civil servants, doctors, and the rest. So in my view, I would think there is absolutely nothing wrong with facilitating the MPs to the tune we are talking about, 103 million shillings. The concern which we should be raising as a country, of course, at the moment, we are talking about the economic meltdown, but also we are talking about the size of Parliament. I have, because you have asked me this question before on this talk show, and I have told you that the problem will not be the amount of money being given to MPs. The problem is the size of parliament. I think Ugandans should begin advocating for a leaner parliament, for a smaller parliament, so that we are talking about quality rather than quantity.
Right.
This government has been a government of mobocracy, believing in a mob. Everything they think about a mob. If it is parliament, it must be a mob. If it's ministers, there must be a mob. If it's the districts, there must be a mob. I think that's where the problem is. Right. But the question of facilitating public servants,
they should get
as a principle, is really very good. They should be very well facilitated, so that we demand quality service from them.
Besides, ministers get cars, judges get cars, why not MP? Well, Honorable Tana, what's your view on that?
I am glad, actually. I hadn't talked with my brother here for quite some time, especially regarding this particular issue. But as a member of parliament, and like he has said, he has contested, and anybody who hangs around a member of parliament and understands the role of a member of parliament will appreciate that actually the 103 million is
well deserved.
Is not actually, in my own opinion, I think it is little.
Right.
Because if you look at the caliber of cars that are driven by undersecretaries, by PSs, by the justice officials, you heard recently the Chief Justice complaining.
Yes.
You look at the town clerk who I am supposed to oversee. You look at a mayor. You look at Chairman LC5. You look at a cow. They drive cars that are worth more than that. So really, and then you look at the amount of money spent in an election of a member of parliament. If at all we lost, like in the last parliament, we lost Honorable Chaka because of a road accident. It was the same reason she was using a flimsy car, because we had not yet been paid money for cars. And God forbid, if that happened, you lose a member of parliament, a by-election costs you more than 300, 400 million. So really the cost of saving a member of parliament. Now I agree with my colleague here, Honorable Basalirwa, that he didn't raise one issue that I would like to emphasize: the efficiency of the member of parliament.
Yes.
You know, if you look at us as MPs, for example myself, today I raised the issue of bank interest rates, but I don't have a research assistant to help me do research, how the work is carried out, how the economy, the Kenya is tackling its economy, how UK is tackling its economy, France, etc. So you go on the floor of parliament
with information
to the best of your ability. In Kenya they are given 3 assistants paid by parliament.
Yes.
In Australia they are given 18. But like he said, there is a leaner parliament. There are 2 houses. In Australia there are 2 houses. Right. And MPs are facilitated to do their jobs better. So in my own opinion, the public should hold their members of parliament accountable. That is something he said which is very important.
Right.
The problem we are having now is that the members of parliament are not really accountable to their constituencies. We are given money to go twice to our constituencies a month.
Yes.
Do we go there? When we go there, what are we doing there? Do we sign the visitors' books? Do we go to check on government programs? Do you go to check whether the civil servants are doing what they are supposed to do? Do you go to the health centers? Do you go to the primary schools? Do you go to the secondary schools to check whether the teachers are teaching?
Right.
So I think the facilitation must actually come good. And it is unfortunate that this halabaloo is raised only for members of parliament and not other
judges or government.
Yeah, other government agencies that you know we are supposed to supervise.
Let's talk about something else. Honorable James Kakooza, the oil deals. Government yesterday signed the oil contracts. The other day they signed the oil contracts, the production sharing agreements with Tana Oil. Now the government says Parliament had passed a resolution saying stop it. Now government signs it. Where are we going on this?
Of course, today it was very interesting. For the first time, there is a paper I read that it was identifying the roles of judiciary, the roles of members of parliament, the role of executive, and it's incumbent upon, when we identify the roles to play, if executive finds it very imperative that they can perform a function, our work as members of parliament is to check it. if government has come out and which has been pronounced by the Speaker of Parliament today, because Parliament was demanding, and the Speaker was very clear and said the executive, the President, is coming to inform the public.
Well, he asked to speak to Parliament on Friday.
On Friday.
And the Speaker said, welcome.
And that
she didn't say no.
That's very important. It means Parliament has to put on toys on executive to explain what is happening. And when the executive comes out and explain, that's the better. You know what is important is the accountability, as my colleague has said.
Yes.
I've been in Parliament. This is the first time the President of this country, Parliament, to demand accountability from executive. And this is a very good move.
And he has shown up.
And he has shown up. It means that members are really, the ninth Parliament is doing a good job.
Right.
Because its work is to check the executive, to give out accountability. And I'm very happy that the President has responded that he will come and explain. And that's when we shall analyze and we shall debate from there. I don't want to preempt what the President is going to explain, because he knows why they have signed those oil deals.
Well, you've been a member of the executive, but let's hear from Honorable Tana. You are an independent, probably NRM leading, we don't know, but talk to us. Do you think the government did the right thing? Are they trying to avoid the Buchagali scenario, where we delay these agreements and then we lose out?
And that is the explanation the President gave yesterday during the Taresita celebrations. And that has been his line of argument on several issues. However, I am not aware whether the executive briefed him on the reasons as to why we as Parliament put a moratorium on this signing. I am also aware through the media that when they went to Chankwanzi, the President accepted all the other resolutions of Parliament of 10th and 11th, but that particular one, and he explained that this project with Sinok and Total were in the pipeline.
Yes.
So and they came back to Parliament to repeal one of those resolutions, yes, as after the retreat, and that is when the whole hullabaloo came about Parliament rescinding on its fight. But I would really be interested, like Honorable Kakooza said, to hear what the President has to say on this issue before I put up my argument, because I was one of the movers of that. That Article 1 was actually insisted on by me, that let there be a moratorium until the laws are put in place, because we cannot move in darkness. So I really want to see whether the President appreciated what we had to say. You cannot move on the Oil and Petroleum Act of 1985.
Milton Obote.
Exactly. And we are in 2002, and the dynamics of the oil industry has changed. So really, we must be clear. Now the sale agreement, the power, the revenue sharing agreement, the environment, we raised several issues. How are they going to dispose of the sludge?
Right.
The environment impact. So you see, we raised several concerns, and therefore that's why I'm saying, before I make a comment on that, I would definitely want to listen to what he saw. And like you said, maybe it's the Bujagali thing, maybe it's that fear that, you don't want to delay anymore, you don't want to hold your country back. So we need to weigh the pros and cons before really I come out with a conclusion on that matter.
Right, of course.
I think what has been happening, of course, when it came up, like in the 8th Parliament, what happened before, because when those signing of the first contracts, the government came in with some laws,
yes,
which really were very pertinent on exploration exercise.
Yes.
Because we thought that those companies who will come to invest in here, there must be a bit of framework which will enable them to reach where they can draw the real oil.
Yes.
And that's why in 2008, 2009, the Minister of Energy brought out some laws like expenditure, investment, how they will tax the revenue, which was passed in the Income Tax Act of 2000, Cap 245,
yes,
of the main law of 1997. And as you know, you take it, leave it, that when, like Uganda is it's at a system which is new in this country, and really the energy sector you see exploration of oil is a process.
Yes.
And which I think that as Parliament demanded, there is a bit now what is cooking, because from the Minister of Energy informed Parliament that there are laws which were demanded by Parliament which are yet to be drafted. They are in the drafting form, and they are soon tabling them, which will enable that anybody who is investing, who is exploring oil, that will enable Parliament to understand.
Right.
But before that, of course, there were some initial agreements which had to be made for a system to move, and which I think the government as executive took part to deal with it, and as Parliament demanded that it must be accountability. And this is a very, very good important system, that if all the three arms of government work interreliably, they check each other, I think
things are going to move.
Things are going to move.
And of course we have the National Oil and Gas Policy, which has creates a good framework for excellent laws, but the laws really have to be brought out. Honorable Basalirwa, was it right for the government to sign these laws, these contracts, the PSA?
Well, for me, I am just worried for my colleagues in Parliament, and I think I was trying to look for the Shadow Attorney General this afternoon. I didn't get him. My concern is there are legal and political issues. I'll begin with the legal, because I have spoken before here on the issue of parliamentary resolutions. What is the effect of parliamentary resolution on the actions of the executive? I think the Constitutional Court, somebody was talking about going to court. This is something which must be resolved by the Constitutional Court.
Well, but Parliament cannot command outside of making laws, they cannot really pass.
No, I am talking about a parliamentary resolution.
Yes.
Because Parliament, like any other entity, speaks through resolutions. Okay? Just like
those speak through laws, they pass laws. And
exactly.
Let me give information.
Yes.
You know what my colleague here is trying to say. I think I agree with him to a certain extent that we do need an interpretation. The interpretation that we have so far is, and it came out vividly during this oil debate. Parliament made resolutions and the executive came out and slapped it on us and said that parliamentary resolutions are anyway advisory to the executive.
Yes.
They are not binding. So in that aspect, I think we do need that law to be interpreted by a third party, and in this case no one is better suited than the Constitutional Court. So I think that's the point he's trying to drive.
And I have said here before that indeed parliamentary resolutions are binding.
You think they should be binding?
No, I gave you, when you invited me here, I gave you the legal opinion.
Yes.
And I was giving you experiences from other Commonwealth jurisdictions on the effect of parliamentary resolutions.
Yes.
But I will not go back to that argument. I think I'll leave it to the MPs.
Can I throw some information there?
What's the information?
I think what he's trying to say, you know, when they were making a constitution, they made some articles which were left for executive only. If you pass a resolution which has financial implications, the executive must know. It must deal with it. I can say the Finance Act, where financial law to be passed. Parliament cannot pass a resolution to change or to alter when you're making, let's say, the laws on financial rates, like financial bills and whatever sort of things. So, if Parliament passes a resolution and which has a financial implications, it does stop. Article 93 stops at that. It does not allow Parliament to do it. So, each resolution which has financial implications, it cannot pass. But other way, since we are going to reform, and any amendment to that could be interpreted and say, well, the resolution can be passed by Parliament. How binding are they? Because as we stand today, even if you interpret the Constitution, the resolutions of Parliament are just advisory. But what my experience is in Parliament, sometimes those resolutions, government do implement them.
Right.
And the Parliament, most of the reports which are made, and once they are adopted, the sector minister refuses to do it. Parliament demands accountability on it.
Honorable, you don't think the government was trying to avoid the Bujagali scenario?
Yeah, but even the Bujagali scenario,
you lose a lot of investment because you're.
No, you see, I remember at that time, I was still at university. I was among those whom, in fact, when in the World Bank, one of the documents was sent by me on Bujagali.
Yes.
I was a student that
fighting
time.
The dam.
You can call it fighting.
Go on.
But what were the issues that were being raised at that time? Because you see, for the World Bank to cancel an investment of that magnitude, it means there was a lot of sense in what the 3, 4, 5 people were talking about.
Right.
Okay. Otherwise, government with all its resources, facilities, and machinery could have given explanations to water down the submissions that had been made by environmentalists and others.
Well, but now the dam has been built.
Yes, the dam has been built. I hope the concerns have been raised.
The butterflies have been taken care of.
Yes. Number 2, the oil. You are saying we want to avert the Bujagali scenario. That's right. But the MPs raised the serious concerns about the transparency, the secrecy surrounding these oil agreements. The fact that there is no operational oil and gas policy.
There is a policy, no legal framework.
Well, operation, the operating word there is operation.
Right.
And that there are no comprehensive laws. You know, these are concerns that the executive should really be responding to. And I think the MPs who are raising these concerns are those who wish well for the country,
right,
and not those who are quickly entering into the signing. But Honorable Tana is asking what the president is going to say, you know, on Friday.
Yes.
I think the president's comments are already public. And you know, this action is the executive is taking on what will they do attitude. The president,
maybe they'll ask him questions to explain.
I don't know whether there will be a question and answer.
We can't.
Procedure they can't. Okay,
you cannot.
Yes, but it's going to be a lecture.
What happens if it's a presidential address? The rules of procedure allows to debate.
So you can ask him questions
after he has delivered the message,
and he can respond,
and then they can respond. The sector ministry, because he gets briefed from the Minister of Energy.
You can't do a Q&A with him on the floor.
No, you can't.
So, Edmond, the point I am raising is that the president's views are already known.
Yes.
The president was quoted in the media, and nobody has denied, saying he knew some people were going to court, so he had to act very fast.
Going at 2 o'clock, he started at 10 o'clock.
Exactly. Because some people who don't wish well for the country,
like a good footballer.
Yes, because some people who don't wish well for the country wanted to frustrate the effort.
Right.
And I know that the address of the president is going to be within such confines.
All right. So, well, he's a good strategist. He anticipates trouble.
But also,
trips you.
Of course, like honorable colleague of mine has said, our rules of procedure don't allow to debate in anticipation.
Right.
I think we cannot speak of what the president,
what he's going to say.
What he's going to say. But it's very important that if Parliament has demanded that accountability and the executive has responded, I think it's a very good point that it never used to happen.
All right. I'd like us to hear from the listeners, but before we do that, let's talk about something else. Harbour Group got 169 billion Uganda shillings, a hefty amount, $70 million, I think. About $70 million. Was this justified, Honorable Kakooza?
To Basalirwa?
Basalirwa.
Of course, I don't want to preempt because I've been reading in the media. Our rules of procedure do allow the committee to make investigations. They report to Parliament, and I've heard the chairperson commenting about what's happening. Well, members were trying to do an advanced sort of thinking before the investigation are thorough. We are really waiting and eagerly waiting from the Public Accounts Committee because they do the job on behalf of Parliament.
They are coming from Entebbe to present their reports
to report to us, and then we see the way forward. What was justified, what was
not justified,
what was not justified, what is their findings, and then Parliament.
Then you'll act.
Then Parliament will act from what the investigation.
Honorable Tana.
Every time I've appeared on any radio talk show or talked to any reporter, my insistence has always been for you in the media to report objectively. I myself sometimes am very critical of certain things. I read the president's letter, the most recent one published in both Red Paper and Monitor, where they say President makes a U-turn. In my own opinion, I don't think it was a U-turn. Right. Anybody who could read English, basic English in that letter, was just provision of additional information. Right. We have done our checks, and I want to assure you that the Attorney General's Chambers is still going ahead with the processes of trying to recover that money on instructions from the President. So, the park, I have talked to members in the park, and I want to tell you that what the media knows is exactly what is going to come in those reports. So we are not, like he said, we must wait for procedure
to be concluded.
The court will be concluded. When the report comes,
then we will talk about it.
Then we will, the public will see what we, the parliamentarians, are going to do thereafter.
Actually, should he or should he not have got
more information to that?
Yes, very briefly.
I've been reliably informed that when the park committee met the president promised to give some more information,
which he did,
which he has written down.
So the money is coming back.
I don't know, but I've not got the letter.
All right.
Well, but that's the information the president promised to them, and this is the letter he wrote to the committee.
All right.
And today, when you read the other newspapers, you are saying he's not changing the position.
Let's hear from the listener. But before we do that, Honorable Basalirwa, should he or should he not have got that cash?
Who?
Haba.
Well, I don't think he should have gotten the money.
The man who deals
because
in
you see, for me, my concern is that the whole thing is political.
Oh,
it has nothing to do with the cancellation of the contract. It has nothing to do.
Why
with
do you say it's political?
Yeah, but you
called
see,
cash.
Haji Basaja Balaba is the chairman NRM visited
Oh, really?
the League.
Talk to us about it.
I think really this is is a conduit. I can tell you.
What do you
it's
think?
merely a conduit.
No. I disagree. What I think is, in my opinion.
But I thought I was on the phone.
Okay, let's hear from the listener. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. Our number 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, When you call in, please tell us your name and where you are calling from. You're saying?
You know, if you look at the Basaja Balaba deal, the president asked for compensation. But I want to blame the technocrats. And the president was very clear when he addressed.
Adding zeros.
No. They did not advise the president correctly. Because by the time Haba was terminated as Victoria and Sheila,
all right,
they were already in areas they had not paid KCC.
Spectrum, hello?
Hello.
Your name, sir?
Is this Spectrum?
Yes, this is Spectrum. Your name?
Yes, my name is Tekako Alex. I'm calling from Mulago. Hello?
Alex, you're live on Spectrum.
Yes, I would like to express my comments about the 169 billion shillings given to Harbour Group. In line of the Uganda, it is very clear that this money given to Harbour Group was not given in good faith. And what is more important is to find out why was the order of the president executed faster than anything else. Because Museveni has given very many orders for people to get paid. But how come Harbour got his money faster than any other person? To me, definitely it looks there was a foul play. It definitely looks there were some individuals either within the ministry, within the central bank, who are benefiting from this money. And that is the reason Harbour was paid very fast.
Spectrum, hello?
Hello.
Hello, your name, sir?
Yes, Edmond. Good evening to you.
Good evening, your name?
Christopher Kabamba calling from Villa.
Yes, Christopher.
Now, for me, Edmond, I'm just going to react on the issue on the issue of the cars. To me, actually, I wouldn't say that MPs don't deserve that. There's a certain gentleman who talked about that about the accident that happened to one of the MPs we lost. Sorry for that. But I want that gentleman to know that even if you're having a car worth 500 million, when it's your day, it's your day. So you shouldn't like blame the car or what. But for me, my problem, Edmond, is one. with those cars, at the moment, I don't think MPs need cars worth that money. Because when you look at our infrastructure, when you look at the hospitals, you don't have medicine. Our roads are so bad. You come to Mutungo Dina and see what takes place. You see, I don't think we need those MPs need those cars at the moment. So, actually, when our system is done properly, let's say the hospitals are fine. We have good infrastructure, the teachers are paid well, the doctors are paid well. Yeah, they could at least go ahead. But if those things are not yet done, to me, I don't think they deserve that. Thanks for the program.
Spectrum, hello. Hello.
Good evening, Spectrum.
Good evening, your name?
Good evening, Spectrum.
Good evening, sir, your name?
Hello.
You're live on Spectrum.
Good evening, Spectrum.
Good evening, your name? We can hear you loud and clear. Please go ahead with your question or comment. Spectrum, hello. All right. Hello.
Hello.
You're live on Spectrum. Your name?
Yes, thank you. My name is Fifi and I'm calling from Nigeria.
Fifi, yes.
I just want to respond to what I think one of the members of parliament was talking about, the whole issue of the 103 million that has been given to the MPs for vehicles. I think for me it is very annoying that the member of parliament is giving an impression that they as members of parliament are first-class citizens, which means that they're entitled to this 103 million. Because ideally they can only be entitled to this money if we can see clear output that they've given us as a nation. But for them to go ahead, I mean, teachers are demanding for money. If you look at the current state of affairs of the country, then an MP rewards themselves the 102 million. Really, can't they get cheaper vehicles than that? And how many of them are driving these type of cars before they came to Parliament? I think it is very unfortunate, and they should really walk the talk of because before they come to Parliament, they give an impression that they're there for the people. So if they go back to the real people that they're representing, in places where there is no medicine, in places where you look at the structures of UPE and in a very poor state, and they're telling us that the driving cars of 102 million, I think our leaders need to stand up.
All right, Sisi, that sounds like Sisi Kalava from the Anti-Corruption Coalition. Spectrum, hello.
Hello.
Yes, your name?
David from Bokoto.
Come again?
I greet you all.
Yes.
Members to be given money to buy cars, 103 million shillings, is wrong. Simply because we pay these members of parliament a lot of money indeed, and the idea being that they cater for all their needs. In any case, these members of parliament, the national parliament, people are saying is good, are not doing anything that benefits a lot of the person. They are only catering, serving people in leadership and themselves. And this is very dangerous. As I conclude, I'm asking Honorable Kakooza, tell us about oil. We hear Carol sells heritage. Heritage sells to Total. Total sells Chinese. Now, are they really selling this oil, which they bought from someone else from what are the Ugandans, and they are trading oil to get profits? Then how do we benefit as Ugandans? I thank you this evening.
Yes, sir, your name?
Yes, my name is Sanjay.
Yes, Mr. Sanjay.
Concerning vehicles for the MPs, I don't see any reason as to why we should really talk about the MPs getting these vehicles. The biggest problem is the number of the MPs. If we had a sizable number of them, few MPs, we wouldn't have a problem with having these vehicles being given to them. We are seeing big amount of money being spent because of having very many MPs. I don't want to call some of them useless, but anyway, sorry. Thank you very much.
All right, let's get to hear from panelists. Honorable Basalirwa.
Can I respond?
Okay, Honorable Kakooza.
My brother, I know him, is the one of Bukoto. Oro, Tana, Synod. These are competitors in business. But what is important is the government to be strict on what it wants to achieve. And if really, for instance, there is a case which was won in court by URA because we had put a law of taxation, and the Uganda government got $445 million, which was an arbitration, and that was a tick.
It was paid.
It was paid through Bank of Uganda, and that money went to produce some more megawatts and Bujagali. So that was a primary benefit
yes,
of it. And really, this is what Parliament is saying, that since now the initial costs of investment is done, we are going to the next stage of just mining and getting pure oil. So there must be a framework. If Parliament had not come out and the Minister of Energy had not put those laws of taxation on expenditures, on investments, we could lose out. So these competing companies, the government is free, as you know. Anybody who comes for business, government allows it, so long as you compete depending on the framework of the laws which are there. I want to assure my brother in Bukoto. Let me send this signal, this message to the public. I think about cars. People are saying, you see, when members of Parliament are employed by the institution of Parliament, yes, anybody who is employed in government should be facilitated, yes, at a reasonable. Somebody has said, my sister from Fera, that some members of Parliament, they went in without. I drive a car of 200 million. A VW, I have it.
Is that a personal car?
It's a personal car.
You made your savings and bought it?
I bought it.
Good.
What does it mean? This is 30,000 US dollars. It does not mean anything.
It's pretty much.
If government was really our economy, if it was very strong, what the first class world do, you find that car, you drive it for 5 years,
give it to the next person.
You leave it as like public servants.
Yes.
You change office, you leave
another car.
You leave that car.
Something
after
better.
The laws are clear. After 5 years, you drive a new car, you offload. That's the public service guideline. And what this 103 million
is nothing.
I don't think members of Parliament will buy new cars.
They won't get very good cars.
They won't get new cars. They buy a new car.
Certainly not if
you go to motor
you went to.
Go to motor care. You'll find it expensive. But what is important is
performance.
Economically, what we are trying to say, like my colleague has said, we need to look at the constitution now. It's a time to know.
Let's get a smaller parliament.
A smaller parliament,
facilitated,
secretary and whatever. I can agree with them. Right. It's incumbent upon the people. But what is happening to the public also, they are the trouble causers.
Right.
They are the people who demand for districts. They are the people who demand for service delivery. They are the people who demand for municipal councils.
So they should
face it. Because they are the people who demand for those.
Honorable Basalirwa.
Well, I think my concern is really on the oil.
Yes.
The government must really come out openly, because there is a lot of suspicion in the public,
yes,
about oil. So I think government has a duty of explaining and marshalling the confidence of the public in as far as oil transactions are concerned. Once that is done, then you are going to hear less and less controversy. And finally, there is no new will to be invented here.
Yes.
I think what we should really be talking about is government to learn experiences from elsewhere. Like this legislation.
No way for it.
I know, for example, that a lot of laws in Uganda have been shaped on the basis of laws elsewhere.
Yes.
So they should go and learn experiences from other countries. Finally, on Basajabala, I have told you this money, 149 billion, was not worth
69.
169.
Yes.
There was nothing substantial that he had invested. Look at City Square where he was paid.
He might have planted flowers. And you don't know.
Yes, but how much do flowers cost? They should have given you the tender. So I think
40 billion.
I think he was compensated 40 billion. Go to City Square there. We activists cannot even be allowed to have lunch there.
He might have painted the pavement.
So I think what the public needs to know is that, in my view, the president knows all about this, and these communications is giving now, belatedly though, are really deliberate to divert the committee. I think the president should be censored.
Oh, you want the president? Why do you want?
Yeah, the president.
Why will you get another president like this one? He fights for his country.
I'd really like to appreciate, especially my colleagues have answered the others. I think Alex raised a valid point, especially on the Basalirwa saga, which my brother has raised some light. The speed at which the compensation was done. We know many investors, the president even in this last letter talked of quality chemicals. where they refused, yet these people are producing drugs for HIV/AIDS patients, which we have been spilling over billions of dollars for. So anyway, that was a very valid point. Christopher, about the cars issue, that we should wait till the roads are done, till the medicine is there. I want to advise.
They should give you choppers.
No, I should advise that the citizens, that many of these things actually reach their destinations. Like I said, last year towards Christmas, I visited the health center in my constituency, and the people were being told there are no drugs, there are no drugs. Central government had, me and RDC walked, opened the store, and the drugs were overspilling. Whereas this guy was making people buy injections, the syringes, for 300 shillings. So
he had a shop inside the government.
Exactly, and he was selling government. These are there is a problem to the core.
All right, let's go now. Thank you very much, Honorable Sanjay, Tana, MP
for signing.
MP for the Municipality, thank you for coming to Spectrum. Honorable James Kakooza, MP Kabula County, and Honorable Asuman, President of the Justice Forum Party. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond. So Spectrum will be back tomorrow. Up next is the news.
Thank you.
Fellow Ugandans, the United Nations has declared that access to the internet is a universal human right.